Hey, Johnny, what's the secret of comedy?
I don't know.
Timing. This episode was recorded a couple weeks ago. It's the Artist Insight Report on Morgan Wallen. And obviously it happened before everything happened with Morgan Wallen. So we thought, do we go ahead and release this into the world or not? But we decided to because it's just about his music and it's not about him as a person. We decided to go ahead and put it out anyway, and you can judge for yourself.
There you go. It's all about the music, man.
Today, we're putting rising country star Morgan Wallen under the microscope. If you want country cuts, this one is a must listen. All right, Johnny, do your thing.
Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music industry. That's what you're going to need to get ahead, guys. It's all about what you've done so far. It's not just about talent. Talent's 10% of it. It's 90% hustle and work. You know, how big is your audience? How many songs have you written? Do you have any cuts? Have you sold some records? Have you sold some merch? Are you selling tickets? That's what's going to get you to the next level. The good news is you don't need to ask anybody's permission because you can make all that happen by yourself. The bad news is you got to make it happen by yourself to do it. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's genius. It's a Baxter from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And got 2 number ones last year on Southern Gospel, which is cool. So he's still turning them out. And what I love about Brent here, he's for the aspiring songwriter, he's going to teach you how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and on a regular basis, he gets you in touch with the pros. So you can find Brent very easily, if this sounds exciting to you, at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but thankfully Johnny's smart, so he kind of makes up for it. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because, as we all know, there is no other Johnny D.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Man, I'm rocking along. If I ever sound a little bit out of breath on these, it's because I'm actually multitasking. I have a kettlebell in my hands right now, and it's just kind of moving around, standing up at my stand-up little workstation here as I'm recording.
Nice.
Moving around, trying to get a lot of stuff done at the same time.
You're working out.
We're kind of working out while we're working this thing out, helping other songwriters on their climb.
I love it. What are we going to learn today?
All right. So today we're going to take a look at an Artist Insight Report. So these are, if you're a member of the Songwriting Pro communities, like a membership subscriber, and you have access to the members area, then you might have discovered the Artist Insight Reports. They're fairly new. But what they are is they're a report that's designed to help you understand what artists tend to record and who they tend to work with. So they exist to help you get cuts, bottom line. So they're normally only for Songwriting Pro subscribers, but I thought we'd pull the curtain back on one of these newer ones and just share some of that with the C.L.I.M.B community as well. And, give you some insight into an artist. And this week we're doing Morgan Wallen, but we got a bunch in there. So if Song Pro, if you're a member, go check out the member area. You can see more of these. I got a bunch more to come. And so we're going to dive into that today and just give you some insight on Morgan.
Awesome. Well, before we do that, let's take care of a little business. We want to shout out to American Songwriter Magazine. We're super proud to be a part of their podcast network. And if you have been a climber for a while and you didn't discover us on American Songwriter Network, go check out some of their other podcasts too. They got some good stuff on there. Mm-hmm. And if you found us on American Podcast Network, well, welcome to the climb, baby.
That's right.
Step into our nightmare. The water's warm. We want you to join the C.L.I.M.B community as well. That's on Facebook. You have to ask to be let in, but we let everybody in. And this is a thriving group where co-writes are getting hooked up. People are asking promo questions. Anything having to do with the music industry, they're in there. And I'm trying to put informational stuff in there just to keep you up to date, things I think you should pay attention to. If it rubs me the right way, I'm going to put it in the C.L.I.M.B community on that group. So make sure you go there. We got any wins we want to talk about?
We sure do. So every week we post our New Heights segment in the C.L.I.M.B community on Facebook. So big or small, we love them all. So please come by, share your wins. We celebrate together. So we got a couple I want to highlight. This first one, this is from a couple weeks ago by the time this airs, but this is from Joe Speranzella. Sorry if I butchered your name there. It says, my band, The Woodsman, with a Z, Woodsman, has new music posted to various formats available for streaming today. So he's putting something out into the world. So good job, Joe, and good luck with that.
Nice. Publish. Yeah.
That's right. James Kelso said, I won the Grand Award for the Songdoor International Songwriting Competition. So Grand Award for the Songdoor International Songwriting Competition, which is going to help me get 3 songs recorded. I also really hit it off with an accomplished songwriter producer who wants to do some co-writing, been doing a lot of co-writes, and they have all been incredible. So been a pretty encouraging year so far. So
it dude's creating opportunities, Kelso.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's in the Songwriting Pro community. So I just got to see him at the Co-Writer Cafe earlier this week. And man, he does some good stuff. He's had some songs make it through some of the Play for Publisher events that we've had and stuff. So he's top notch, man. He's doing good work and seems to be a really good dude. So I was happy to hear this for him. So making it happen. Yeah. Keep on climbing.
Love it.
Yep. So
just make sure you leave a rating and review. We want to try to get to 200 on iTunes if you can get there. And then finally tell a friend about it. That's the big thing. If you're listening to it and you're spending this kind of time on it, it's creating some kind of value. It's not because you're trying to support us. It's you're doing it for yourself, as it should be. And tell somebody else about, hey, man, another musician, another songwriter, another artist. Hey, there's some good stuff on here you should listen to. Bring some ideas back to your camp and try to make that climb happen.
That's right.
All right, so let's get into this.
Let's get into
incredible Morgan Wallen record. Dude, this is a double record, and I listened to this whole thing twice. It's really freaking good.
Yeah, I've been tearing it up. I've really been enjoying what he's been putting out lately. So, yeah, Morgan just released a double record. It's called Dangerous, and it's really good. It's really good. So if we'll just dive into it. So kind of the story behind these artist insight reports is, as a writer who's actively writing and trying to get cuts, it's like there are always new artists and different stuff. There's like the more you can always dig in with these artists to try and kind of see the matrix, to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this stems from years ago when I had that person at a label challenge me to really take a look at what's really getting cut and let that inform my writing so I don't stay stale or stagnant or whatever. And I've done a couple of these before, like hit song breakdowns or hit album breakdowns on the C.L.I.M.B before. And I just wanted, just needed an acronym to really stick, let's be honest. So I call it Fresh Air, AIR, Artist Insight Report. Ooh. And starting last semester, I started getting interns, and that was one of my interns' jobs, is to put together the artist insight reports. And so I thought, well, these are good for me to understand and to help them understand with like song plugging with their A&R and my stuff. Like, what does this person cut? Do they cut any outside songs? Do they write everything? Or if they do cut outside songs and they write, what do they tend to cut that's outside? Where are the gaps in the armor that maybe I can send a song through and fill a need and just trying to get insight, right, on these artists, because I want to solve a problem for them. So I'm trying to diagnose like where the opportunities are, maybe where the problems are. Like, oh, I don't write the up-tempo singles. I write all the ballads. Oh, great. Okay, I can solve a problem for you by presenting you with an up-tempo single, that kind of stuff. And so I just had Dawson last semester start putting together a bunch of insight reports. And this one today was done by Max, who's one of my interns this semester. And
hey, Max.
So, Thanks, Max. And so he put this together, and it's everything like BPMs, producers, songwriters on each song, music notes, like meaning like, hey, what kind of vibe does it have? What's the subject matter? And just breaking it down. So, I'm doing my listening, but I can just kind of reference a file on this artist to go, okay, boy, they like these keys for their song. Here's the stories they tend to tell. Here are their common co-writers, and just trying to find where the opportunities are. So I thought, okay, if I'm having interns do this, I want to share it with the Songwriting Pro community members. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, let's share them with some climbers too. So that's just kind of the background on the Artist Insight Reports.
Love it.
So you ready to start breaking this down?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to sound like Johnny. I'm going to throw numbers around. Because normally I don't do that on my episodes, but,
And bore everybody to tears. Okay, go.
All right, so this one, so since this is a new double album, a lot of times I'll have people go back and grab the last several singles and the last record. But we're just on this one, Max just did like the double record because it has the last couple singles on there and just breaking down the record. So double album Dangerous has 30 songs on it. So it's really a triple record, to be honest. I mean, you think of normally 10 songs on a record, but there are, let's see, it's released January 8th, 2021, produced by Joy Moy, Jacob Durrett, Charlie Handsome, great name, Matt Dragstrom, and Dave Cohen. So like 5 different producers on there. Some of them are co-writers on some of the songs. So I would assume that they produced or co-produced the one that they helped write. So these may be producer writers, track guys maybe. That's part of the value they bring in the room is being a writer and being a producer. So I thought that was interesting. Like a lot of producers on there, but you got 30 songs. So let's look at co-writes. That's one of the first things I look for because if the artist writes every single thing that they record, there's not much opportunity unless I'm in the room with them, which we can aim at that, but that's a different path. So first thing I look at is co-writes. So Morgan Wallen co-wrote 17 of the 30 songs. So actually not as many as I would have assumed. I thought he was a writer on just about everything.
That sounds short to me too, actually. Wow.
Yeah, I know. So it's barely over half. I'm like, all right, well, this is interesting. So that means, doing the math, he did not write on 13 of the 30. And one of those 13 is a Jason Isbell cover of Cover Me Up. So that was a big song for Jason, one of his more well-known songs, I guess. And so that one's a cover. One of those 13 that he didn't write is a cover. And that song will come back up a couple times because it's kind of an outlier on this record for a couple of reasons. One, it's the only cover, but we'll get to some other reasons. Notable co-writers. So a guy named Ernest Smith co-wrote 10 of the songs on this record. So like a third of them.
Wow.
8 of them were Morgan Wallen co-writes. 2 of them Morgan didn't write on, but Ernest wrote with other people. So he got a lot of cuts in there. So he's definitely in the camp, right? You got Hardy, or Michael Hardy, but the artist's name is Hardy, with 7 songs. 6 of them are co-writes, 1's an outside song. Let's see, you got Ryan Votasak. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he has 7 songs on the record. 5 are co-writes, 2 are outside songs. And then Ben Burgess has 4 songs on the record. 2 of them are co-writes with Morgan, and 2 of them are outside songs. So let's just break that down a little bit further. So I find it interesting that once you kind of do the math on these, you see a lot of the same names popping up on a lot of the songs. So Morgan's writing with Hardy. He's writing with Ernest. And Hardy and Ernest and Ryan are writing with Ben, or writing with Morgan, or, it's like this round robin of like, this is a crew. You see those names popping up in different configurations on this thing. You're like, okay, I get a pretty good sense of who his crew is. It's these guys that are getting a bunch of cuts on his record. And they also have the relationship with him. Apparently he's cutting songs of theirs that he didn't even write on. And I think, okay, how are they getting, obviously co-writes? You see the path there to victory, to getting a cut on there. It's like, okay, what about Hardy, Ben, Ernest, and Ryan all had songs they didn't write with Morgan that made the record. So that's worth taking a look at. Well, how did that happen? Well, obviously they're buddies with him. They must write a bunch with him because they all have multiple songs on the record, which means
imagine how many they've written together, right?
So they've written together, and so they know what he does, right? So they have a good sense of what he does because they write with him a bunch, what his artistic voice is, and also probably what he's missing and that kind of stuff. And having that relationship with him as co-writers, they can also throw a bunch of songs his way to pitch because of the relationship. So who knows how many they are like, hey, let me hear this. Or you just sitting around the campfire or the living or whatever, you're hanging out, like, let me play this thing that I wrote. Dude, that's awesome. That's that proximity that allows for these happy accidents or whatever to happen. So I think that that's worth noting that, okay, even though they didn't write all their cuts with him, they know him well. They can get him the songs. They know what he does. So they can either write for him or aim their pitches strategically because they know what he does. But I was kind of surprised by that, by how many, I don't know if I'd call them outside songs, but how many songs he didn't co-write or on this record.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me, actually.
Yeah. So you're breaking it down and trying to see the relationships. I remember one time that last publishing deal I was at, I was getting kind of deep in this stuff going, okay, how do I make the relationships happen? How do I split the atom? How do I operate inside the matrix here? And I was getting this the days before I had the huge whiteboard, my like floor to ceiling whiteboard I have in my office right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing like flip pieces of butcher block paper, whatever the big board, you flip it over, like, let's draw on this and flip it over. And here's, like the easel. And I was doing that kind of stuff. I had one in my house, like on a big old tripod in my office. And I'd like put the artist at the center. That's who I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to the artist for this matrix here. It's like, okay, who are his co-writers? And I'd put the co-writers around, circling the artist with a spoke in like a wheel going, okay, that's who he writes with. Okay, who's their publishing company? Well, these guys are over at this publishing company and this girl's over here at this publishing company. Okay, and I'm starting to figure out my path to eventually work my way into that room, either for pitching or for writing, going, okay, they write for C.L.I.M.B. So artist is writing with Writer X is signed to C.L.I.M.B. Okay, well, do I know anyone that's over at C.L.I.M.B? Oh, maybe I write with so-and-so at C.L.I.M.B. Okay, maybe I can get them to pull me into the room with this guy. And we write, and if we hit it off and it goes well, we get some good stuff. Maybe that, boom, I'm inching my way closer to this artist. I'm moving through the matrix. So,
yeah, I love that.
And so, but my publisher, he wasn't really into all that. I was like, dang it.
Really?
He's not just like pitching. I'm like, this is the way that so much of publishing that is successful is happening. It's writer management. It's not just song plugging, it's writer management. So this allows you to do some of that on your own, to start charting the relationships. Who do I need to get to if I want to get a song here? And it's trying to see the relationship network. And that way you can see where maybe there's a spot for you to insert yourself and start working your way through. Because if you're good and you're good hang, you'll be able to work yourself through there. But it's like finding an entry point, like where's the open door? Where's the crack in the armor here? All right. So those are some of the major relationships on this record. So number of co-writers, I thought this was interesting because as I'm looking down through the report, the number of co-writers is jumping out at me. So only one song has a solo writer on it, and that's Cover Me Up by Jason Isbell. So that's the only song on there with a solo write.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
You had 3 songs with 2 co-writers. And this is out of 30. So 10% has 2 or less, or well, a little bit more than 10% has 4 out of 30 have 2 or less writers. Then you get to 3 writers, and that's the most. You have like 14 songs that have 3 co-writers. Okay. 9 of the songs have 4 co-writers. One of the songs has 5 co-writers. And 2 of the songs have 6 co-writers on the song.
Now we're starting to sound like L.A.
Oh, no doubt. Because I'm looking through there going, do I know who these people are and what they bring to the table? Because I'm sure there's like a track person in there, somebody who's mainly like a producer that is bringing in vibe and track, and then who knows how else it all worked out. A lot of the names I don't recognize on those 6 writer songs. But let's talk about that. So why are you getting more people? Why is there only one on there that's a solo write? And again, that's an outlier. Morgan discovered it because he loved the song from Jason Isbell. Not like it was pitched or obviously not written with him. So there's a little bit of an outlier. So the other ones, why do we have more writers on songs? I think there are a couple of reasons. One is efficiency. If I know I have a co-write with so-and-so going up today, for myself, I'm a lyricist. So, I mean, if I'm going to finish a song and it's going to be worth a flip, I need to get in the room with a good melody person. So part of it is just complementary strengths, right? Hey, you have a strength. You got the peanut butter. I got the chocolate. Let's get together, make a tasty Reese's peanut butter cup, right? So that's part of it. Another part of it is the efficiency. Like I only have to come up with part of it. We're bouncing song ideas off each other and melody ideas and lyric ideas off each other. And it can just keep the ball moving and keep us from that boredom or feeling stuck. And so you just kind of can get more songs written that way. So that's part of it. The other part is the networking, political leverage part of it, going, okay, well, if I'm writing with a guy at Sony, and so now I got Sony pushing from his part of it. I'm right. Another person in the room's from Warner Chappell. Now you got Warner Chappell. If they love it, they're on board. They're pushing it. You got me pushing it with my team, whoever they might be, or even if I don't have one, I'm pushing it. Maybe we got the artist in the room. Well, that's obvious. The value there. We're writing with Morgan. We don't have to go, does that sound like something Morgan would say? You just go, hey, Morgan, will you say that? Yeah. All right.
Makes it a little
so obviously
easier.
It makes sense to have him in there. Maybe a track person's in there because, hey, they can make it sound great while we're still writing it. And so you're already like vibing on it and sound like a hit, even more so. So I think that's some of the reasons the expanding number of co-writers in a room is just, it's fun and it keeps the ball bouncing and you have more people working it. So I think that's part of the reason we have more co-writers these days. So if you're not a co-writer and you want cuts, think about it, because it's a great way to network with people and to expand your brand.
I think it's terrifying to some writers that are self-contained to think about co-writing. And I've dealt with it a couple times with different artists of mine where I've kind of like gently forced them into a co-write, but it's sometimes I think like writers or artists forget, like, if you're not savvy to how the co-writing thing works, you feel like if you co-write with them, then you got to cut the song, right? Or it's got to be one of yours. And that's just not the case at all.
Right.
And even if you plan to always be a self-contained writer, think about this too. Like, what could you learn?
Yeah.
From people who do this all day long for a living. Like, hey, maybe you write a song and it gets a cut and it makes you some money and it gets you in the door from somewhere else, because that whole thing factors in, right?
Oh, yeah,
they've got
sure.
connections that you don't have. And
you start seeming more legit because you got a cut on somebody.
Yeah, man. And then also, like, they're going to have tools. They're going to have tools that you're going to pick up on in that co-write that's going to make your self-contained writing better, which is usually, I find, an attention to lyrics. This is a generalization, to be sure. But so far, most of the completely self-contained writers are these artists that like have these golden voices, and they're always just getting all the validation that they need their whole life on their voice. And so they naturally kind of, there's no need to really go down that rabbit hole and get the better lyric,
right?
Yeah. And then they do, and like, oh my God. Like, I remember Chris Mount, one of my artists, like he went from being terrified the first time, like he thought he maybe got raped or something afterwards, writing with Anthony Oreo and Klein, your brother-in-law. And he just came out of that like he didn't know what happened. He wasn't sure if he liked it or not. And then that was when he still lived in LA and he was just out here mixing. But then he moved in, and then all of a sudden he's doing regular co-writes. He comes skipping, like we were roommates for a couple of years. He'd come skipping home. Check out what we just wrote, you know? Yeah. And would just, now he's excited about it because he can put his killer voice, and he's got a killer voice, to these, like, to these lyrics, and he's got an idea, and he's got somebody else to play in the sandbox with him to help him hash out that idea and communicate it better. It's just so cool to watch,
Yeah, it's so much a part of the way things are done in Nashville or anywhere else, I think. It's just because how have I gotten to know most of the people I know in the music business? Because I ended up in a room with them or someone that knows them writing a song. Yeah. And so it's such a natural way of networking and spending time with people and getting to know people, because you're in a room together for a few hours. And if you hit it off, you end up talking about life and getting to know each other on a deeper level. And then they know people, and then it just keeps spreading, and someone become artists. You mentioned writer artist. You know who has 2 cuts on this record?
Who?
Thomas Rhett.
Oh, yeah.
Country artist. Yep. You might have heard him on radio. So he has 2 songs on here called, I think, Whiskeyed My Way and Bartender, Your Bartender. So he wrote 2 of those. So, he's writing songs, and he didn't cut those, but dadgum Morgan Wallen did. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So right there, proof positive, right?
Yeah.
He's in the room with those 2 guys, and he's not in there worried about, God, am I going to hurt their feelings if I don't cut the song? He's just trying to write a good song that maybe isn't going to be his brand even, but it could be a good song. And then somebody else.
And, Thomas didn't write either of those songs with Morgan. He wrote them with like Red Akins, Matt Dragstrom, one of the producers. Maybe the producer brought that in, was like, hey, this is really cool. With Josh Thompson. So both those Thomas Rhett songs were Josh Thompson co-writes, but also, with Matt Dragstrom, who ended up producing a couple things. So maybe Matt brought those in, and that was his way going, hey, here's a great song. Hear this demo I produced on it, and it's killer.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, because I think Matt wrote some other stuff with Morgan on this record. I think I'd have to look through all the names, but that was it in. Bring a song in, bring in a hit.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. You want to talk about
these songs are killer too. It's all killer, no filler on this record.
No, it's so good.
30 songs. Like, how do you freaking do that?
I know. Well, because it's Nashville, baby. There are that many good songs floating around. It's just nice to see somebody cut them.
We need more artists to do triple albums.
Seriously. Well, I think Eric Church has a triple album coming out called Heart and Soul. One's called Heart, one's called Ann, and one's called Soul. So he has
genius.
Triple record thing coming out.
I see what he's doing there.
Yeah. All right. So you want to talk about tempos?
Love tempos.
So we're talking about the writers and stuff. So tempos, the low tempo is coming in at 42 BPMs. Guess what? Cover Me Up, Jason Isbell. So he's like the outlier on all these stats. But you know what? the high tempo was.
There's no really jacked up songs on there, I don't think. I think there are a lot of like
Mids and
higher
stuff.
mid tempo. So I'm gonna say like what, maybe 100?
Dude, this says Need a Boat.
96?
Need a Boat is 160. I don't know how that's possible. So
Maybe it's a triple meter or something.
yeah, maybe it's one of those. But I double checked Max on that one. God bless you, Max. I was like, can that be right? Have I ever seen that? And I looked it up on tunebat.com, which gives you a lot of that stuff. And it says, sure enough, it said 160. I was like, dadgum, okay, maybe it's some sort of
Need a Boat.
Need a Boat. It's on the second part of it. So yeah, I thought that was crazy because it didn't feel like doesn't feel like a dance number. Let's pull it up here.
If they're long bars, then it might feel like an 80 BPM.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they're like halftime or something. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so got confirmation off another site that that's what they said it was too. So I thought that was interesting. Let's see. So most of them tended to fall within the 70 to 90 range, like upper 60s to like mid 80s is where most of them fell.
Okay, so your normal pop song, that normal BPM for an up tempo is going to be 120, right? Right around in that range. And so that mid tempo is going to be like right in there. And so just a lot of mid tempo stuff, I think, is by design. This isn't like a revved up album. Yeah. It's awesome, but it's a very specific feel to it, which I like.
Yeah, and also they help bring the energy with some of his phrasing. Super fast phrasing in some of the songs make it feel maybe like a higher tempo because he's doing some rapid fire lyrical phrasing and stuff.
Yes.
It may be a kid as far as BPMs, but if you're talking about the words that are coming out of his mouth, it ramps up the energy that way.
Yes.
So there's some other ways I think they play with the energy aspect of it. Yeah, so most of them, upper 60s to low 80s.
And you say, hold on, you say play with it, the energy. It's like in that situation, like with the rapid fire stuff, like you got to slow it down or you can't get them in.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's got to be, like when I'm producing song demos, like I'm listening for that. Because maybe it feels really good, like when you get going, but then the singer gets in and
it's a train
the stunt vocalist, and it's like, okay, whoa, this is a mess. Yeah, we gotta take this back a little bit, and then, but that just shows you that vocal is what's going to carry it, and it's not going to be necessarily the beat.
It's not
the drive through the vocal. And
it's not like dragging. It's still mid, but it feels like energy, and plus you can make some of those big. So there are different ways. Tempo isn't the only way you can bring energy. Sometimes it's production making stuff sound huge. Other times it's vocal phrasing, that kind of stuff, bringing more energy. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, some of the other higher ones you had between 111 and 130, you had 6 of them out of the 30 between 111 and 130.
There you go.
So those are more the tempo ones. I thought that was interesting. So thing is, I'm not sure where you define a ballad. But definitely, if you're in the 40s, okay, well, you need to be a Jason Isbell. That was definitely on the low end. None were in the 50s. And then once you get in the upper 60s, that's that country mid really started hitting.
Yeah, that's like the low end of the country mid where it can come off like a ballad, but it's not. It's not. So it's like you're sneaking it in on radio because I got to play your ballad.
Exactly. I'd say like "Is Sand in My Boots," which is the leadoff track. Is 70 BPM. And that's laid back, it's laid back. It's so good though. Lyrical content and the imagery and stuff is just great. So it's a good kickoff to the album. Let's take another look here. Subject matter. All right. So we got 30 songs here. Hopefully I counted them all right and this adds up to 30. But if you talk about love songs, there were 11 out of 30. Okay. Lost love songs, or You're Gonna Hurt Me, I know it, starting out songs, are 13. And then songs that are more like party, beer, country life, 6. So, and it's interesting that even a lot of the love songs or lost love songs that kind of tackle that, and that's kind of the reason for the song, are really hardcore into the country life part of it. For example,
Bottle Liquor.
Well, there's that, but let's see here. Let me look at one here. I'm just looking through the list of all this stuff. So thank you again. More Than My Hometown. Okay, so that's a lost. I've categorized that as lost love. Yeah. So we've done a whole episode on More Than My Hometown. So you can go check that. I'm not sure the episode, but it's a couple back. But that whole thing is
I
like,
don't love you more than my hometown.
I can't love you more than my hometown. And so they dive into the hometown, what that's about. And so that's very much country life. You're wrapped around this lost or about to lose a love thing. So even when it's a lost love thing or a found love thing, there's still so much country life in there. Let's see. Rednecks, Red Letters, Red Dirt is just remembering how a hometown can kind of cleanse your soul, man. When I need that, I got to go back to Rednecks, Red Letters, Red Dirt. Red Letters being Bible, Red Dirt, just the small town rednecks, the people. So that's very much a country life kind of song. Blame It On Me is a new love thing, but it's definitely country boy new love, because it's like, hey, if you annoy your next boyfriend because you want to crank up Brooks and Dunn instead of his pop music, you can blame that on me. If you want to go hang out in the country with your next guy instead of like in the city, you can blame it on me.
Yeah.
If your friends wonder what's going on because of what you're cranking on the radio, you can blame it on me. So it's very much country boy, country life, country pep rally, but wrapped around like a love song, right? What else? There's another one I thought was kind of cool. What You Think of Country Now, which is basically you were a city girl. You kind of rolled your eyes when you first met me, but now I can't drag your butt out of the woods kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What You Think of Country Now. I Need a Boat is the big tempo one we talked about, which didn't feel like that big of a tempo one. But I think it's like all the things in life he doesn't need to just break it up with someone, but he does need a boat. Like I need a boat, get on the water, ease my mind kind of thing. I don't need all this other stuff now that we broke up, but dang, I need a boat. So it's still wrapped up in this very country boy, country life kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a part of his persona, of his stuff. So if you're going to write, what that tells me is, definitely there's a lot of drinking songs on there. Whiskeyed My Way, Beer Don't, so he's not scared of singing about drinking, and he's sure not scared about singing about fishing or being on the water or country life stuff. Like, okay, but he doesn't talk about city stuff. It's not Lady A singing about downtown. Why don't you ever take me downtown anymore? I don't think he ends up downtown one time in this 30 songs. He ends up at the beach on one, but he's on his way back by the time the song starts. He's looking back on it, So he has a specific lane that he occupies, and it's red dirt, one lane out in the middle of nowhere. And so looking through this stuff going, okay, well, he'll sing about found love or pursuing the girl. He'll sing about losing the girl or I'm going to lose you. But even those, I bet if I need to break it down further, like how many of those are tempos? Are they any of these lost love things? Are they ballads where he's sad? I think they're like all mid, maybe up. Whiskeyed My Way Over You is, I lost you, but I'm over you now. So there's hope, but I whiskeyed my way over you. That's 62 BPMs. So laid back, kind of slow, but it's still like he came out the other side, beer wouldn't do it, whatever. So I whiskeyed my way over you. Wondering About the Wind is more kind of acousticy. Mm-hmm. And that's 91 BPM. So it's still not really dragging. And so they move. Even the ones where it's like More Than My Hometown, where I'm going to lose you because I'm not leaving here. It moves and it feels good. The chorus feels great. So there's just a lot of that kind of stuff. That even when it's a breakup or a lost love or I'm going to lose my love thing, they don't sit around wallowing in self-pity.
There's tempo.
They move and make it feel good.
Mm-hmm. If
you're gonna break my heart, make it feel good.
Yeah.
So it's not really a cry my beer song. It still feels good. And so looking at this stuff, breaking that out.
Let me think of a Neil Diamond song.
So that's something you want to look at as well. And just to kind of wrap it up, we have more stuff on the Artist Insight Report as far as like the key of each of these songs. You can break down the BPMs, the subject matter, like, hey, what's the vibe of the music? You can look at that. What's the subject matter? They break all that out. And so that's just helpful stuff. If you want to aim at an artist, like that's what this is for. So you listen to the record, you look at this to help you see the trees that make up the forest and see if you can, build a tree that belongs to that forest is a weird way of putting it. But so there's more stuff in there that we're not going to get into. But if you are a Songwriting Pro member, I definitely encourage you to go there and check out the Artist Insight Reports. I think I said before that we have Blake Shelton, Jake Owen, Daly and Vincent, Brad Paisley, and we got a bunch more in the can that will be coming soon. So hopefully y'all will use that. It will help.
That might not be a bad thing to offer climbers, man, like for download, free download.
Oh, not a bad idea. So put my interns to good use.
There you go. That's right. Set that up on ClickFunnels and make it happen.
That's right. Good idea, Johnny. But yeah,
Man,
they
this
are to help
record's
you
so good.
get cuts and help you to kind of see what's really going on, what's really getting cut, and to see hopefully where some opportunities are. And it can be frustrating going, oh, well, he wrote half this record himself and he wrote the rest of it with the same kind of crew of people. But hey, it means if there's outside stuff, you just got to figure out how to get it there. And one of the main things is to go, what does he like to sing about? What does he like to write about? What belongs in his lane? What belongs on this record?
What is his brand?
What is his brand? It's helping you understand the brand.
Yeah, I not for nothing. Like, go listen to the record. Just listen to it all. Like, it's. I loved it. I loved every song on that record. I thought was just so well done.
Yeah, and different too. I mean, it's not all the same thing over and over for sure.
Yeah, well, it's just the other thing. It didn't feel cookie cutter. He's not as far out as like Eric Church. You know what I mean? But
Right.
he's like got that vibe, that cool vibe that Church has, and also just a little closer to the mainstream somehow.
Yeah.
Like he's got a foot and straddling both of those. That's super cool, man. And he's a singing fool too. He can.
Oh yeah, it's a great voice.
Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah.
And that's Big Loud shirt, right? This Big Loud Records.
Big Loud, I believe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Wiseman and
Craig
that
Wiseman's company. Yeah. That's Joey Moy.
Yeah.
They're all part of that
Produced a
camp.
bunch of this. Yeah. So they found him. I think he was on a reality show. He's like on The Voice or Idol or something, I think.
Morgan Wallen was?
I think so. And then I need to check that real quick because I didn't know who he was till he started releasing records. Let's see here. Yeah. 2014, season 6. Oh, look at that. Oh, he's such a baby. So,
well, there you go. So he's one of the few who turned that into something. God bless him.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the route he took from that to getting on people's radar to making stuff happen.
There you go.
So, yeah, Climbers, man, I hope this is helpful to you, just kind of peeling the onion a little bit, because it's easy to listen to records and we kind of float along the surface of it. But then to go, okay, if I really want to write something for this person, what do they talk about? Can I put something in a key that when they hear the demo, oh, yeah, they can sing along because it's right in their wheelhouse. I want to hire a demo singer and key it a certain way. Why don't I key it in one of their favorite keys, like something I think they'd sing it in? We can look at stuff like ranges, vocal ranges, like where can I fit it so this person can actually sing it if you're targeting a specific artist.
Yeah, I mean, so I was going to say, like when we're doing song demos and I know that the writer has this song for, let's say like Blake Shelton, then I got a couple singers I'm already thinking about.
Yeah.
That I know are going to be able to go down there and do that thing well. And then, we're going to key it that way.
Yeah.
To get as close as you can for that certain thing. And if you're the writer that has the rig at home and you can do all this stuff, you want to be thinking about that too.
Yeah.
Maybe you bring in a singer that can, if it's not in your range, right? If it's not in your wheelhouse, then you bring in somebody who can do it and play around with it like that.
Yeah.
And the tempo too. Why not have three different versions of it just for giggles?
Man, play around. Don't be scared. So, as you said, you're not going to go to hell if it sucks. I think you said that on
That's right.
a recent episode. Somebody pulled that out, quoted that on Facebook or something, or on LinkedIn. You're not going to go to hell if it sucks or if it blows. Is what he said. You're not going to go to hell if it, just because the song blows. I'm like, true.
That's right.
Try.
That's right. So what are we really worried about here?
Exactly. Have some fun in the sandbox, but be intentional. That's the point of the Artist Insight Reports. Like if you want to get cuts, study this stuff because they're being intentional. So do you want to leave it just to your competition to really be thinking about how to get cuts? And you just want to just kind of fly by the seat of my pants and just see what happens. Do you want to be that guy? Who do you think has a better chance?
It's songwriter hacking. I mean, just deconstruct that thing, pull it apart, look at the lyrics, look at the structure of the song, look at the tempo, look at the key, look at the artist. Think about like that lyric and if somebody else sang it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And how it all sort of comes together like that. If you're the artist too, you got to be intentional about that. I remember the story that I went and saw Travis Meadows at 3rd and Lindsley, who's like one of my favorites, right? If you haven't heard Travis Meadows' Killin' Uncle Buzzy record, you need to go listen to that. It's amazing. And he's got some story, man. You think you had a hard life. Well,
yeah.
Cancer when he was 14 years old. Both his parents died when he was young and just trying to get through this whole thing himself and turned into the victim for 7 years and went to the bottom of a bottle. And he'll tell you, it's like, when I was drunk, man, he goes, for 7 years, just so you get the impact of what I'm getting over, I never had a hangover
Yeah.
for 7 years because he never sobered up.
Yeah.
Like he's waking up in the morning like Slash with a glass of Jack and Coke. You know, he packs it with ice at night so he can wake up and hit it right away, you know? And he talks about getting on the bus with Eric Church. And Eric Church is like, you know, the only reason you're on this bus is because you're not like all those Nashville writers. Like Eric knows his brand. Eric is very intentional about who he's going to write with and who he's not going to write with because it's not his brand. And unless you can get your head around that, man, as a songwriter, knowing how to fit into that brand and as an artist, being aware, self-aware of what that brand is. If you don't know, you need to find out.
Yeah.
So that's killer, man. I love this. We should do a couple more of these. That's cool.
Yeah, I got a bunch in the hopper, so I have no lack of content. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Dawson. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. I got a crew working on this stuff.
Well, killer.
So if you're, I know, what's our call to action? If you're a Songwriting Pro member, if you're a subscriber, go. It's in the member area. Check out the Artist Insight Reports. We got more there, more coming out. I'm starting to queue them up where every week they drop. And if you're not a Songwriting Pro member, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff. You've already mentioned us talk about like jam sessions and co-writer cafes. You get discounts on some of the events I do like to play for Publisher. But it doesn't matter where you are in the world, or if you don't already know somebody in the music business, I'm here to help you connect to the music business, where if you got the goods, I want to help you get the goods, right? So you can hear and understand what people are wanting, the value you can bring as a writer. Then I provide an opportunity for you to meet other songwriters and for you to meet the pros. So it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you're, don't know anybody. Come on in. We'll get to know you. So that's songwritingpro.com/inside if you're interested in taking a look at the community, songwritingpro.com/inside.
There you go. Love it, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer climb episode. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.